everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BFD Advisor Podcast. So excited about this episode. This is a really BFD, is to talk a lot around paying people under the table. Naughty, naughty. That's what I have to say. I'm your host today. My name is Dawn Brolin. I'm a CEO of Powerful Accounting, Inc., certified public accountant and certified fraud examiner. Don't cause frauds. Don't be a fraudster. And I'm here with my wonderful co-hosts, Sean Duncan and Sharon Fuller. Sean, say hello.
Hello. I'm shy. No, I'm not. Hey guys, Sean Duncan, owner of SMD Consulting Accounting and the founder of the Chief Proactive Advisor Program.
Which, by the way, his t-shirt's awesome. I wear it all the time. I think I have it on right now. I do. I have that t-shirt on right now. It's
right
very
on.
cool and wonderful. So if you get one of those t-shirts, you're going to be very pleased. And of course, my very good friend Sharon Fuller. Say hello, Sharon.
Hi, guys. I just was, leading in with what Sean was doing there. Sharon Fuller, CEO of Glass Wallet Ventures, managing partner of Blueprint Financial and Fit CFO. And I'm trying to add some more things there. So if anybody wants me to run anything else, throw those suckers at me. I got this.
We need more
Sharon
titles.
Does not sleep. She doesn't sleep. It's not a sleeping thing. But we have this awesome topic today around paying people under the table. I know I have a good story to share. I'm sure Sharon and Sean do, but we want to introduce the man, Max Pearlstein with ADP, because honestly, ADP helps guide us in the decision-making when it comes to, am I a W-2 or am I 1099? And you have great resources. So we wanted to bring you on to help fill in the gaps around when it's a good decision, when it's a bad decision. I'm pretty sure it's always a bad decision. But Max, say hello. Sure
is always a bad decision to be that fraudster that you called out, Don. Hey, everybody. Great to be here with this group. Max Pearlstein, Division Vice President of Channel Sales Strategy at ADP, which really just means I get to spend a ton of time with very thought-provoking accountant partners like the ones on the podcast today.
That's all. We love you, Max. You're so much fun. Such a good person. We do. We really enjoy our time that we get to spend with you. And today we're going to spend some time talking about, like we said, the under the table cash payer. They're paying somebody under the table because they think that's better, and that the person, a lot of times I find it's the person who is that's getting paid the cash is the one who really wants it. And the one who's paying the cash will come to you and they say, hey, I paid this guy $3,000 under the table. I would like to write it off, Dawn. And I'm like, well, that's really nice that you would like to do that, but we're not doing that. So it's interesting how we have these conversations. And Sharon, you're somebody who's like always in the thick of it when it comes to giving that advice and making sure it's the right advice around the 1099s and making sure that your clients are compliant around that. And it's a big audit area. First of all, just don't do it. But let's try to help our listeners understand why would they not want to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I've sat through about 3 1099 audits in California. And let me tell you, the employer never wins that one, never wins. Almost anytime you're going to have an audit, I don't care how, especially nowadays with California's new laws, you're almost never going to win it. But even back in the day, and then the liability that you've caused yourself, like you were saying earlier, somebody hurts themselves, there is no insurance covering them in any level on the clock, nothing. They're going to sue you personally. And then you're in trouble the rest of your life, right? And then there's just so many things. And then if the state comes in or prime example, I would give you an example. We had somebody who begged us, pay me 1099, pay me 1099. And we said, but you're an employee. I know, but I can't have this on a W-2, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the middle of this. Okay, fine. We will pay you 1099, gave her a contractor's agreement, blah, blah, blah. Technically, by law, she should have been an employee. When she quit, she filed for unemployment. And they said, no, you're not an employee. She goes, well, I should have been. So then there was this whole thing of them coming back to us and us going back to them and us doing the audit. In the end, fortunately, we won because I got all those ducks in a row and made us pay her under a business name if that was going to happen because they had a business. But it wasn't worth it in the long run. I would have rather just paid 10% towards her Social Security and Medicare and a little bit of unemployment and a couple bucks workers' comp and not deal with that. But that probably took, I don't even know, like 3 months to get that reconciled.
Well, what I
So-
love about that story, because that is a common theme, right? And so thinking about, this is one of my favorites. Well, it's my cousin. So I'm just going to pay it's my cousin. He's never going to sue me. Well, I will warn you folks. I have seen sons steal from fathers. And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, there's a difference between whether it's allowed or not allowed or however it works out. But at the end of the day, I forget who says it. You never have to remember the truth. And it's similar to this conversation because at the end of the day, you're not doing something you're supposed to be doing. And Max, as you would probably contest to, that there is a test. Whether you're going to pay somebody, first of all, under the table versus 1099 versus W-2, we really have 3 levels here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy questionnaire with some simple yeses or nos to determine who in fact is a contractor and who in fact is an employee. Shocker, they're usually an employee. If you're answering any of those questions at all, or you thought to answer or come to that questionnaire at all, it's probably because they're an employee. And it's interesting, Sharon, your story got me thinking a little bit about how often we get called in as the #1 payroll provider out there to solve the problem. Hey, I was just audited and I found out that all of these people that I was paying as contractors are in fact employees. And can you get me set up with payroll ASAP?
How far back can you backdate it, right? How far back can you backdate all of this?
That's always the question. And the answer is we can't. We can start doing it the right way from today on forward. And you said it, like one of the biggest triggers we find out about or that we hear about for us to be called in is that workers' comp insurance claim, right? Like that employee should have been on there and we should have been paying workers' comp against that employee and we didn't. And now they got hurt or something happened. Same with unemployment insurance, which isn't really an insurance, right?
Now, as we're talking about the 1099 versus W-2s, that's kind of one issue. But then we have, again, that under the table. I want to write this off though, but I want to write, because really I can pay them less if I pay them cash. And I almost want them to repeat that to themselves. Say that again. I want to pay them under the table, so I pay them less. Well, that's fine, but guess what? You're going to pay more because you're going to have the tax implications. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Everybody thinks that they've figured out the way to beat the system, right? I mean, my whole business is about tax strategy, tax planning ahead, and making people not pay as much as they should, right? Or pay as little as you should. Apparently, I need more caffeine to talk clearly, but pay no more than you have to. And how you pay people as contractor versus employee. And Sharon had a perfect example. There are rules on ways to do these things. But some people think, I figured it out. I don't want to be an employee because I don't want to pay employment tax, but you know what? I don't want them to report the income. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to give them cash. You haven't beaten the system because somewhere along the way, somebody's going to pay taxes. The person that you're giving cash to and you're telling not to, we're not going to do anything formal here. Do you think they're going to report that on their tax return? No. Well, then if they're not reporting it and reporting the income, you don't get to take the deduction. Now, people will, of course, include that as a deduction, but the issue is you don't have the paper trail. You don't have the proof.
It's not auditable. Right?
If the IRS comes in, okay, think about it this way. If I said your company made $1 million in revenue, but there's $100,000 of just miscellaneous, and the IRS says, can you tell us about this miscellaneous? No, I cannot, sir. What? No. Well, can I get some receipts or bank documents? Nope, that was all cash. Cash for what? Drugs? Like they don't know. And so they're not going to allow it. Is it entertainment? It's all the disallowable things. The IRS is going to err on the side of, well, we don't see anybody else paying the taxes. So really, we're just going to not give you the credit for it. The tax will get paid. And what's really terrible about all this is it's not even an isolated incident. What's really unique, and we're not going to be all negative Nancy here, but it's what's really unique about the payroll issue. If you don't pay somebody, maybe you pay them as a contractor instead of an employee, or you don't pay them correctly and you just pay them under the table cash. If the IRS notices and goes, you know, it appears, sir, for the last 2 years, you haven't done this correctly. You haven't just had 2 mistakes. You've actually have 4 per year just on the payroll 941s, and then the annual, and who knows what your state is going to pop you for. Every single one is treated as a separate audit and penalty. which means if you can get one waived, congratulations, but you might not be able to waive the others. This is where people go bankrupt because they thought they were going to game the system to save $3,000 and I'm still going to write it off, but I'm not going to report it. And you end up in $300,000 of audit defense. And trust me, Dawn, as a certified fraud examiner, she'll represent you and she'd be more than happy to take your $300,000 so that you can save your $3,000.
Well, let's remind people, you said bankrupt. You cannot bankrupt payroll taxes. When you set up a payroll account, you are personally, somebody in your company is personally guaranteeing the payroll taxes. You do not get to get away from them. The government will get their money because it's not your money. So when you were supposed to be collecting those and you didn't pay them and they decided that you owe them, I don't care if you've got zero in your bank account, you have to pay those.
Stays forever. And the thing is you're trying to be so cute and creative when really this isn't the hill to die on, right? There are plenty of places to be aggressive and strategic. And trust me, this is my game.
Yeah.
That's not the one. That's not the fight. It's paying the nanny is the usual example, right? Well, I'm just going to pay the nanny cash, but yet you still want some deduction for it. Guys, you can't have both.
I just sat through mediation with a client that had a nanny issue, and I'm telling you, it's rough. You got it. But the good thing is we did absolutely everything right. We had all the insurance, blah, blah, blah. We did everything. So we were really, really covered, but heaven forbid we weren't. Like this could have been terrible.
Yeah.
Really, Matt, we definitely want to get Max some. Max, if I came to you and said, Max, how do I know this person I'm hiring, they're going to be doing some stuff for me? How do I decide if they're an employee or a contractor?
So we direct everyone to the IRS questionnaire, which is easily accessible. Most of our associates, when they meet with a client and that question comes up way more often than we ever expect it to, right? Because I think Sean said it best, like everybody is looking for this cute shortcut. And truthfully, so few people are really hiring contractors. We walk them through that IRS questionnaire, and it's usually super evident. And the good thing is, there's a lot of benefits to paying people on the books the right way, which I think we talked about before. They're covered on your workers' comp insurance. You pay into unemployment. They're also eligible for other perks and benefits that the employer might offer through the business, right? So, by the way, at the end of the year, that employee now has a W-2 to show when they go get their car loan or they want to buy a house. Like there's so much to it beyond just saving a couple of bucks, like Sean outlined, that we can step in and really help guide them through that conversation. And like you said, Sharon, it's like so infrequent that when you're going through that questionnaire process, and the IRS is pretty black and white about it, someone actually is a contractor. So we love doing that. It's part of our consultative approach, and we do it every day.
We'll throw that link in on this too, so everybody knows, because it really is just a few real quick questions. Like, example of the number one, do you dictate their work schedule?
Their hours, right? Are they using your equipment? Do they have to come to your place when you tell them to? Your place of business,
they have
right?
A uniform. There's a lot of things. And, if you answered yes to any of those, even just one of those, they are an employee. And in the state of California now, there's really no such thing as 1099 anymore. You're either a business or you're an employee. But they did away with, it's very, 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 very hard to actually be 1099 in California now. It's like an individual contractor anyways.
Yeah, I think that and that's like really interesting, just that in and of itself, because we're really talking more on the federal level, but there are still those requirements at the state level that are sometimes buried, by the way, which try to go to a state website and find information on anything is almost impossible because they're just so much none of them are good. But at the end of the day, if we're thinking about how we can protect the clients, I think that's part of the message is how do we protect the client? And I think some of it is us being more intentional and more proactive, which hence Chief Proactive Advisor, being able to say, hey, January's here, we're doing 1099s. Are you asking the questions? And I'm not saying, listen, you're right, we're not responsible to audit. We take the information from the client, we punch the keys, we get the 1099s out, but if we want to be advisors, which is BFD advisors, right? If we want to be advisors, here's an area that you could be advising your clients and say, listen, I just did 20 1099s for you. Now, I don't think there's many business owners that would want to sit down with you and go, let's go through those 20 people and do a test for each one of them. Pretty sure not many of them would want to do that. But if they're in a relationship pricing model, or i.e. subscription pricing model, which we're all moving towards, that can be another service that you provide to them. Say, listen, on an annual basis, we're going to take a look at your 1099s and your W-2s, and let's figure out who's who, who's what, and what is everyone doing. I think that that would be another area that we as advisors can tackle, Sean, for instance, right? I'm sure that's in your playbook.
Well, it is in our playbook. A couple things that to think about too is not just pain avoidance, right? Nobody wants to get audited, and everybody thinks, well, I'll never get caught, blah, blah, blah. Think about the opportunities doing it right creates. One, yes, you avoid the pain, but how hard is it to find an amazing employee right now? Find anybody that will do their job well. If you're going to try to attract talent, do you want to attract talent by, look, we're going to pay you W-2, we got a 401k, by gosh, we got workers' comp, and look at this other benefits package. Or, hey, man, I'm going to give you some cash, and we're not going to really report into this. We're cool. We might all go to jail.
What's your cash
cool, man?
I'll scan you and pay you.
Yeah, like immediately, I think the professional that I want to hire is going to want a gig or a job. And that's the thing is you got to realize stepping back as a business owner, it's not just about minimizing taxes. Because if the tax tail wags the dog, everything's all screwed up. You want to make good business decisions. And then we flow into the tax thing. But it seems like the taxes is where everybody gets obsessed with. And then they try to do the under the table cash, or I'm going to do the contract.
Oh, like what is it? What is it average to have an actual employee on your payroll? The payroll taxes, I think, are 8% of whatever their salary is.
Total cost of an employee is between 10 and 30% of their compensation. So it depends on benefits and perks and equipment.
Okay,
like
I'm talking just
on the
a
higher
basic.
end.
You know, we've got 3 employees. I'm just putting you on payroll. I think basic payroll taxes, I think they average out to the year. Again, depending on your state, but I think it's like 8%, right? It really
work it out. There's some math to be had, but yes, it's you're missing opportunities. And Max touched on it briefly, is you get to help people and take care of them. Like the system is set up in a way to create workers' comp and benefits. And by the way, those are deductions for you. So you want deductions, pay them appropriately, and you're going to get full paperwork to support it. And you're going to get all these perks, and you probably will have happier people who stay for longevity. Because again, the guy or gal that you're paying $1,000 under the table, what loyalty do they have to you? And what recourse do you have against them if they screw up? None.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? CYA, cover your assets. You build this whole firm, you build this whole empire, and you want to pay someone under the table. And then what? That liability is huge. It's bigger than what you've saved. And it's just not worth it. I mean, if you're going to take anything from it, is cover your assets.
Yep.
That's my professional CYA.
Yeah, and that really is. And I think so as we're wrapping this up, this conversation, we have to, I want to hear from each one of you. What to you is the BFD about 1099 versus W-2 or under the table? And I'm going to start with Max. You go.
It's too easy to not differentiate what's right and what's wrong here, to cut a corner. And there's too many benefits for not doing it doing it the right way. Make it easy.
I love that. Absolutely. Sharon, you go.
Yep. Liability, cover yourself. Don't build something that can easily be taken down for a very small fraction of money that, like we're saying, you're going to be able to write off anyways. You're really not saving anything in the long run.
Absolutely. Sean?
Don't overthink it and try to figure this out yourself without professional help, because it's going to cost you more to clean the dang mess up than what you're actually saving. And trust me, the cleanup's coming. One way or the other, it's going to happen. So stop overthinking it. Just hire somebody to help you with the right way to do things. There are opportunities. Just pick the right ones.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to snowball off of that, Sean, because to me, one of the most important things from a twofold perspective, as the trusted advisor and the chief proactive advisor, we need to be on top of this stuff for our clients, not just in January, but year round. We need to be helping educate them. And if you're a business owner, you need to team up with an advisor, with an accounting professional who's going to help you make the right decisions. Maybe not the ones you want to hear, I get that. But at the end of the day, how can we help you stay compliant and protect, like Sharon said, your assets when it comes to, you know, liabilities and other risk factors like that? And certainly, Max, ADP has the resources, has the tools, and the right people in place to help through that process, and has great resources for the trusted advisors to utilize in order to help educate those clients and help them make those right decisions. So, Max, I want to thank you so much for coming on. You're always so much fun to hang out with, and you know, and of course, Sharon and Sean, my amazing co-hosts, I thank you so much. So for now, we're going to say goodbye for BFD Advisors. Till next time, thanks for listening.